Ladies and gentlemen, my name is TotalBiscuit. I'm here to ask and answer one simple question. WTF is Silas? Well, I had no idea until this morning. Not a bloody clue. This is Silas. This one guy, effectively, runs a studio called Exalt. This is mostly a one-man band operation. There are obviously a few people who have contributed to characters and music and stuff like that, but he did the art, the audio, the programming, and the design. Basically, he made this game. And he's been sort of making it on and off for quite a long time, in fact. I believe since about 2004-ish. So it is kind of a labor of love from this guy, it would seem. I don't believe he's a full-time developer at all. He's just put this together over the course of however many years. And as a result, you've got this kind of weird game that seems incredibly old school in many ways. It's like it was obviously it was designed back at a time when things were very, very different. They even put a museum in it, which is actually kind of a nice little feature, which has got screenshots and little bits of commentary. And this is how much of a personal project this game obviously was. Very, very odd to see something like that. It's kind of neat, I've got to say. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem like it can go any further. I'd like to know more about the development, but yeah, you can't really find out about it. That's about as far as it goes. Okay, so let's do our usual thing. It's a PC game. Let's have a look at the options menu. That is the options menu. It is ugly, but it is functional. That's the main thing. And you do have a lot of options, including texture resolution and things like that. The aliasing anisotropic filtering. Actually, the number of options kind of puts a lot of AAA titles to shame, and that's a little bit embarrassing, isn't it? Audio doesn't seem to work. This is kind of weird. You change the audio options, nothing happens. I've tried this, so I had to change the audio levels in Windows. Yes, thank you for displaying my IP address to the world. That will be blocked out in the video. Mouse sensitivity. You do have Xbox 360 joypad support. I'll just be playing with the keys. That's the keys. Really, really easy. Power slide, primary fire, secondary fire, cycle weapons with E, shooter mode, and turret mode. These are kind of odd, and I'll try and demonstrate this to you as best as I can. Funnily enough, I pressed back there and it didn't actually take me off the menu. So the whole marketing blurb for this is like it's a kart racing game crossed with FPS, and the idea being that it's kart racing, but there are FPS style options in it, and you can do precise FPS aiming with the turret and shooter modes. Now, I shall try and demonstrate to you. I've done the tutorials and a couple of the challenges to get a sense of how the game is. There is multiplayer, there's online and network. The problem is online currently doesn't work because you require a serial key. And as of this morning, Gamersgate does not have serial keys on for this game. That's currently the only place where this is on sale as far as I can tell. I imagine this will be quickly rectified probably by the time this video goes up. But yeah, you can't do the online at the minute because there are no serial keys available. There is also a network mode for LAN, as you can see, which will also let you see what kind of game modes there are available. There are 5 battle modes: Deathmatch, Pipe Snatch, Survival, Team Deathmatch, and Capture the Flag modes. With you can change your max players. I wonder how far you can go. Yeah, max players would appear to be 12. As far as I can tell. And you do have weapon group actions as well, which is kind of nice. You might remember something like that from, say, the original Worms games, where you could pick weapon sets. So you can pick based on the map and things like that. And there's also just a basic run-of-the-mill single race mode. And you do have a few options there. No real doubt about that. I would love to know what they contain. There you go. That will tell you exactly what's going on with those. Some interesting information. Let's get out of the game lobby. I can't get out of the game lobby. There we go. Now I can get out of the game lobby. I have to populate the list first. Right, okay. Otherwise, single player. You've got versus mode, mercenary mode, time trial. Versus mode is what you would expect. It's got your standard kart racing modes, Grand Prix single race. Time trials, they're time trials. And mercenary mode is basically a set of challenges which you can do in order to earn credits. Credits don't actually get you anything as far as I can tell. They just put you up on a high score leaderboard. They're quite useful to do because some of them do kind of teach you how to do various little tricks within the game. Anyway, we should go and do a Grand Prix, I think. Sounds like a good idea. Very standard kart racing stuff here. Engine class, V4, V6, V8. We'll go for V8 because it's nice and fast. 8 AI karts. That's as far as you can go with that.
Magnus.
And then you've got your characters. Now, This is sort of where you see that the models for this game are quite basic. For instance, that's not really a model as much as it is kind of a smudge. Yes, you can drive around this giant cloud. Not really sure what's going on with that. Yeah, some of these look like they were done in Poser, if you remember that old 3D program. The models are very much out of date, there's no real question about that, although they do have this sort of weird little kitsch character to them. There's an angry kind of owl there. I think I might play the owl. I don't even know what that thing is. Not a clue. At least there is a reasonable amount of variety there, and the 12 characters do have these different variants in terms of their stats and things like that, so let's go on. Alright, course-wise, I believe it looks like there's about 12 of them total as far as I can tell. You got these 4 here, you got these, and then you've got these locked. I don't know how you unlock these. Maybe you just complete the Grand Prix in order to do that. And that will tell you exactly the order of the things you're going to play. We're going to start on Diner Green, so here we go. Let's give it a try, shall we? No, so I have played the tutorials for this before, so I'm sort of competent. Now, the art style on the levels is kind of a weird mix. I mean, something like the trees have a really nice style to them, but then there's a lot of lower resolution stuff, like, say, notice the fences on the side of the map, or these little monsters that appear on the track. Those are kind of at odds with the actual graphic design choices. Yes, I have now exploded. It's very, very unfortunate. That weapon that I just got shot with is horrible, incidentally. It's really, really powerful and difficult to deal with. So, aside of that, I mean, at the start, it's really a very, very basic run-of-the-mill kart game. In this mode, you don't seem to have access to turret modes or anything like that the game advertises, which is what's kind of weird. I think that's only available in battle mode, as far as I can tell, and battle mode is not available in single player, which to me does seem like something of an oversight. Just make a move around here. As regards to the actual kart racing itself, it's actually fine. I mean, it works. It handles pretty much the way that I expect a kart racer to handle. There are some weird things about it. For instance, I mean, right now, I'm really not entirely sure what's up with my weapons. Like, I can't seem to pick up a power-up or anything like that. I seem to have a weapon. Am I firing something? Yes, I am firing something. Okay. I wasn't actually entirely sure, if I'm totally honest. There we go. Now I can pick up a weapon. For some reason, they've gone outside of the little box. This game does seem to have some bugs with it. There's no real doubt about that. There you go. Standard boost thing going on right there. And you can do a power slide in this game, which, if you... this is weird combo. You can power slide into a power strafe, which will cause you to gain boost if you do it twice in a row. So, say if I did that, that's a power slide. But then if I were to hold both direction buttons and the shift down, which is a 4-button combination, I go into a power strafe, which, of course, in this case, sends me off the side of the map. But, hey. Make a move around here. As regards to just basic kart racing, it's fine. The karts handle in a fairly enjoyable manner. They slide around the track in a way that you would expect. It's good that it's got a good selection of power-ups and things like that. That said, it does seem like it's got its issues. There's no real doubt about that. I mean, why do I have this weapon, for instance? Because I've got this power-up at the top right here, but that didn't correspond to the weapon that I had. You can see there, I've got those things flying around me, but that wasn't the weapon. I don't really understand what is that supposed to indicate. The weird thing is, say, in the challenge mode, you get this weapon bar down the bottom, which makes it extremely clear as to what weapon you're actually using. But in the racing mode, in the single player, you don't, and that's weird. Yeah, it's like, it seems like the single player doesn't actually include that option, which is really, really odd considering it was part of their marketing blurb. I say their marketing blurb, his marketing blurb, saying, hey, it's a mixture of kart racing and FPS and lots of weapons and things like that. It's like, yeah, that sounds cool, let's try that. And then in the single-player racing mode, you've got power-ups and things like that, as you can see, but having loads of different weapons and stuff, that actually is not part of the game at all. That's just odd, really. Incidentally, those lock-on laser weapons are, in my opinion, highly overpowered because they take basically no skill to use whatsoever. Listen, it is kind of weird, and I can't seem to find like an option to say drop a weapon or anything like that. It seems like you just have to keep firing it until it runs out of ammo. And you can see the ammo counter down the bottom. Not that you want to be looking at that. Just considering its place in the UI, you'd end up looking to the bottom of your screen and then ignoring what was actually going on in the race. Which is not optimal, I have to say. What is that? I don't even know. All I know is my owl is extremely upset about it. It also these random power-ups do take quite a long time to actually choose for you. They're incredibly indecisive. What I do like is the fact that the tracks do seem to be fairly well designed in most places. There are some exceptions to this, I have to say. For instance, there's a desert track whereby the track is almost transparent. You don't really know if you're on the track or off it. And more often than not, you can just end up falling off it and not really realizing that that was happening. And that's a level design problem. I mean, that track, for instance, is fine. There's nothing wrong with it. It's a good track. It's got some shortcuts and things like that. Did he just clip through the fence? I think maybe he did. Oh my. But yeah, you'll see there, hit Q to enable shooter mode. The thing is, it doesn't. Not in the single-player racing. I'll try and demonstrate that to you once I get a turret-based weapon. It does in the challenge mode, and I imagine it does in the multiplayer battle modes. But those battle modes are not available in single-player, which is a severe oversight in my opinion. Perhaps the AI wasn't coded to deal with that. This map's a little bit awkward as well. I've done this one before, and yeah, you can sometimes, like for instance there, you saw I thought I could drive over that, but I got driven back towards the center of the map by some invisible wall, which is a weird choice. Don't really know why the guy chose to do that. You can see it there again. What I will say is that the game does actually have quite an awesome soundtrack. I believe it, if I recall correctly, it's by a group called Loudcore. I can go and check that on the credits again, if I so desire. But yeah, the soundtrack for this game is actually pretty good. It's a mixture of sort of Wipeout style stuff and a little bit of dubstep and drum and bass put in there for good measure. It's good, and there's about 30 tracks for it, so that's pretty nice. You can see how outdated the graphic style actually is, and there's obviously been some efforts to update it with particle effects and HDR and bloom and things like that, but there are some areas of it that look really good, like you saw on the first track that we did. Those weird-looking stylized trees actually look really awesome. And then here you've got trees that look like they're from 2003. And I suppose it's understandable, being that it's this one-man labor of love game that's been developed over the course of 6 years. I do approve of this. I don't know why I have it, but I approve of it. It's a shame that it seems to... What the balls? Ah! What? It's that... I just don't even know. This game has so many weird bugs in it that it's so hard to work out what's actually a feature and what isn't. It's bizarre. Like I said, the kart racing, which is of course the main point of the game, works for the most part, and it's pretty enjoyable for a kart racer. And as I say, it is a $10 game. And in its current state, however, it's really hard to recommend, as it's like it's very much in alpha, I would say. It's got a good feature set to it, and you can definitely say, hey, that's kind of nice, and it's got a certain style to it that I rather like. But technically, it's in alpha, as in, this needs to be shaken down, this needs to be QA'd, this needs to be bug fixed in a major fashion, because it's got a ton of problems. I think it's kind of sad to say that, isn't it? Because if you're going to work on a game for that long and then it ends up having problems on release, then you think, well, what have you kind of been doing for 6 years with it? And I suppose if you've been developing something for that long, you can really lose sight of stuff like basic QA, because you're concerned about adding more features and thinking, oh, well, you know, I'm going to change my mind on how this works. But yes, it has a lot of problems, unfortunately. I would like to say that it doesn't, because, hey, you know, I feel terrible saying that, hey, you know, your six-year labor of love, it's got a lot of problems, and I can't really recommend it, but I've got to be honest with it. It's got a lot of problems, and it's really hard to recommend it. And as I say, having the battle mode be purely multiplayer, while I can kind of understand why you would do that, is a big, big limitation, especially when I can't even go online with it at the minute, because you don't get any serial keys on Gamersgate yet for the game, so the online system doesn't work. You could do it through, say, Hamachi, I would assume, since it does have a LAN mode. I think given enough time and actually given proper QA and things like that, this could kind of become a LAN favorite. Because I remember, say, playing a lot of Blur at LANs that we go to, because that's a fun game that you can play with 20 players, and it's just, it's got a lot of variety, and kart racing games and things like that are fairly uncommon on PC. I mean, there are not many good kart racing games on PC. In fact, I'm trying to think of any, and I can't. Some might say Zero Gear, but Zero Gear wasn't very good either, in my opinion. Now, you see here, I've got a turret weapon, and that is like, say, hey, press Q for turret mode. It doesn't. It doesn't. Yeah, you don't have that option. None of those things work in this racing mode at all, which is a bizarre design choice. It really, really is. Because this racing is basically just, hey, this is kind of a, you know, an indie Mario Kart. That's cool. Nothing wrong with it being an indie Mario Kart. I want some kart racing games for PC. There aren't all that many of them, but here, it's just weird to advertise that feature and then not use it at all in single player. It's really bizarre. But yeah, once he fixes it, then yes, I would say that it's probably worth it. And, you know, if you're not too concerned about spending $10, you probably have some fun in multiplayer with this, I would think, even if it is buggy in places. It's still enjoyable. I mean, it's fast-paced. The controls work really well. The power sliding works really well. The boost mechanic is bizarre, and I don't even know what the hell he's doing with that. Getting a boost is just this seriously contrived process, and I don't really know what's going on with that, but the racing is good, and that's kind of important, isn't it? It's a racing game. It's just everything else is a mess. And you can tell that he's put a lot of work into it, but it's this weird fossil of a game, because it's been under development now for, I suppose it would be 6 to 7 years. It's just kind of bizarre. It's weird to look at. It's a bit of a relic, I suppose. But it does have some fun value to it. But yeah, get it fixed. Get it fixed. And hey, it unlocks cheats as well, which is also kind of neat. Get it fixed, and then yes, I could say, huh, yeah, this is pretty good. It's a bit of fun with friends. You could probably get some enjoyment out of it. I do like the fact that he's included a lot of stuff like this. For instance, paintball mode, and this only works in the single player, but all of this stuff, that's kind of cool. I like that. You can also go through the jukebox, and there are 30 tracks there, which you can listen to. And that's it. Some of them are pretty good, honestly. But there you go. You can see Kevin Greenlee created that. But yeah, it's really odd to
Get ready.
actually do anything with a game like this. It's bizarre. It feels weird. But yes, it's lacking in places. The heart is obviously in the right place. Obviously, but a lot of problems need to be resolved before I could possibly recommend this in all good conscience. Potential, however, there is certainly, without question, potential. Ladies and gentlemen, my name has been TotalBiscuit. That was a look at Silas. I shall see you next time.